Dream Builders. Welcome to tonight's session of Live. My name is Tamara. I'm the manager of Live Richer Academy, and you guys see me every Sunday. I see we have some new faces in here. I'm looking at your pretty profile icons, and I see that you are all coming in from different parts of the country, and we have some international folks. And I see that you guys are excited. We were just talking about how excited we were to see some questions already popping in. So I am so happy that you all are joining us this Sunday. This is a very specific topic. This is for my business folks, or even if you have a nonprofit or just an idea that you think would be beneficial for your audience, that you are able to come here today and talk about how to create your own app and make money from it with Tara Reid. And I'm going to tell you a little about Tara because she's amazing. She is the bomb. And you know, we bring you no one better than the best. So Tara is the CEO and founder of $1 million tech startup called Apps Without Code. Once again, that is Apps Without Code. I want you to write that down because this is going to be your new favorite resource to go to. So Tara, after running marketing initiatives at Google, Foursquare, and Microsoft, Tara branched out to launch her own startups using unconventional techniques. Her online school has trained over 70,000 entrepreneurs across 14 countries. She teaches people how to build their own apps, validate their business ideas, and build revenue-generating businesses. Yes. She is a TEDx speaker, Forbes 30 Under 30 entrepreneur, a past participant of 500 Startups Accelerator, and an alumni of Columbia University. So welcome, Tara. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, or should I say evening, depending on where you are.
Thank you so much for having me. This is awesome. So I would just love to kick off by hearing from the audience just where you guys are in the coming up with an app idea journey. So if you could type into the chat, I would love to hear if you already have an idea for an app or if you don't already have an idea. So type like, I have an idea, or like, I don't have an idea yet, depending on where you are. Let me know in the chat. I just want to see sort of where people are in this process. We're going to talk about how to approach this, how to think about apps, whether you have an idea and also whether you don't have an idea. I'll show you a little bit of the framework I use for coming up with good app ideas. But I would love to just hear from you in the chat where you are in the journey. Cool. Okay, I see some, I have an idea. I see, I don't no clue, I don't really know yet. Simone says, I have no clue, but I want to establish an idea. Okay, some people have a few ideas, multiple ideas. Great. Okay, good. We're going to talk about how to come up with an idea in the first place. There's actually a really easy formula because all of you guys know something about some area, something you do for work, something that you do for a hobby. Like we all have some specialized knowledge that we usually take for granted. We don't even think that it's important knowledge that you can use to create a product used to create an app idea. Yes, cool. Okay, all right. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna share my screen because I want to show something to you guys here. Let me show you this. Let me know in the chat when you can see my screen. Let me know when you can see it. Can you guys see that? I just want to introduce myself really quickly, but I also want to show you some of the apps that I have built myself, some of the apps that my students have built themselves, so you can get kind of an idea of what this can be like for you moving forward. Okay, so as we already had in the intro kind of explained, I'm a tech entrepreneur. My name is Tara Reid, and I used to lead marketing initiatives at Google, Foursquare, and Microsoft. And in 2014, I had an idea for an app. And the original idea, the first idea for an app that I ever had was an app to help people find artwork for their walls. So like paintings, photography, things like that. And I ended up building an app that matched people to artwork based on their taste. I built this like fancy art matchmaking algorithm, but I did it without writing any code because I had previously worked at all those tech companies, but I was not a coder. I was not the person who was building the technology. I was working on the business side of the business. And so I created this startup, created this app that matched people to artwork, and I built it without writing any code. And so the process that I'm going to show you today, this process of coming up with an app idea, of building it without any tech people, and then charging people real money to use your app, got me in my first year of entrepreneurship, my first year of coming up with an app idea. I made $150,000 in revenue from that app idea Plus, I got $300,000 from investors who said, we want to write you a check. Here's some money. We love what you're doing and we want to see you take it to the next level. Right. So that was what I did in my first year. And I've been super blessed to be featured in some awesome, fun publications. So Entrepreneur Magazine has featured me in their Young Millionaires edition. Forbes has done some really fun articles on how to succeed in Silicon Valley when you don't look like Mark Zuckerberg. And I've also done a really fun TED Talk on building apps without code. But when I started, like on day one of coming up with an app idea, where you guys are, it was not like all of this press and success and all of this as an entrepreneur. That was not how I started. So when I started, I was a young professional working a 9-to-5 job, right? And my 9-to-5 job was okay. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. It was just like, it was all right. But there were a bunch of things that I wanted to do. So I wanted to build my own app business so I wouldn't have to spend my whole life working for someone else's dream. At the time, that's my like employee badge in the picture. I was working for Bill Gates's dream, not my own. And I was thinking about like, okay, how do I start setting myself up to be working for my own dream, right? I also wanted to figure out a way to pay off my student loans, to work less. I wanted to be traveling more and just like not having to be worried all the time about money. Like these were the things I was thinking. I also wanted some sort of shot at retiring early. Like this is what was going through my mind at the time that I came up with the app idea. These are probably things that you're thinking about too, right? But I was running into a bunch of issues when I first wanted to launch my app. And I want you to let me know in the chat if you also run into any of these issues as you've been thinking through the option of maybe even building an app idea. So the first issue that I had was I didn't have $20,000 to hire someone to build my app for me. I don't know if you guys know this, but on average, it costs $20,000 to hire someone to build an app for you. And I was like, nope, let me look at my bank account. I don't have that. So that's not even an option, right? Have any of you guys ever talked to like an app agency and they told you it was going to cost a lot of money? Like this is the experience that most people have when they start to embark on this journey, right? But the other thing was I didn't have 1 to 2 years to learn how to code, right? If I wanted to make my own app for myself instead of hiring someone, I was gonna have to take a couple of years to learn how to code. And I had to get my idea out there quickly. Like in technology, 1 to 2 years is a long time to not launch your app. Like somebody else could get moving with that same idea, right? And so I didn't have that long to learn how to code. I also couldn't find the right tech savvy business partner to help me. Like there wasn't anybody that I trusted enough to go into business with as like a 50-50 partner. I just didn't really have someone that I really trusted. Let me know if you've ever experienced or thought about any of these challenges. These were the things that I personally was experiencing when I first started out. And I knew that if I took too long to launch this thing, someone else was going to launch my idea or something similar to my idea first. And I was starting to feel frustrated because I was like, oh, I feel like a failure because it's taking me so doggone long to get going. Like this is the place that I was in when I first was thinking about launching an app idea. Now, in the middle of all of this, because I was working at Microsoft at the time when I had this idea, I was working a 9-to-5 job. I'm now a full-time entrepreneur, but I wasn't at the time. So in the middle of all this, Microsoft laid off 80,000 people, and I was one of them. So I lost my job. I had no way to pay my bills. I ended up moving to Detroit. I was living in the Pacific Northwest at the time. I moved to Detroit with my best friend because I just wanted to get some help getting back on my feet. But I was really embarrassed to tell all my friends about this. It took like a while for me to tell all my friends that I had lost my job. Like this was the environment in which I started my first app. Right. And actually, if you take a look at a lot of the successful apps that are out there, like Airbnb, Uber, etc., they were all launched in like 2009, where we were coming right out of recession, and a lot of people are experiencing this. So just know that like great ideas come out of pressing situations, right? This is a normal thing to happen. I didn't know it at the time, right? So instead of being stuck on all those issues that I mentioned, instead of being like, I don't have $20,000, I don't have the time to learn how to code, I don't know what to do, I decided that I wasn't going to be stuck anymore. I was like, nope, I'm done being stuck. And I taught myself this process of how to build apps without code, So I want to show you some examples of apps that I have built without code and my students have built without code, just to like give you a flavor of what this looks like. All right, cool. Okay. Awesome. I'm just looking into the chat. Lisa says, I definitely don't trust folks with my ideas. Yeah, like if you don't really know them yet, like I would hold off on doing all of that. Jewel says, these are my exact issues and concerns. Yeah, this is like very common things that people have issues with, right? So this is a app. I want to show you a couple examples now, right? So 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago now, I came up with a new app idea, and I just want to show you this so you can see how quickly you can go from idea to money, right? So a couple of weeks ago, I was on the internet and was trying to learn more about creating a YouTube channel, right? Like I have a YouTube channel, but I'm not really doing that much as I want to with it, and I wanted to do more with YouTube. So I was looking around trying to find coaches and people that could help me with my YouTube channel. And I couldn't really find good, reputable examples. I was finding some stuff, but I didn't really know if it was good or bad. And so I created an app to solve my own problem. So what I did was, before I created anything, I went to test my idea to see who was interested. This was my first level of marketing that I did. So I went to Facebook groups, just like you all have been to Facebook groups before. You go on Facebook, you search in there. And I looked for groups of people who were like online coaches, people who were teaching things, right? And I went into that group and I posted, hey, I'm creating this app to help coaches find customers. Would anybody be interested in being part of the app, right? And a bunch of people commented below and said, yeah, I'd be interested. So literally the very first thing I did, the second I had the idea, I went to some Facebook groups to see if anybody would be interested, right? You could all do that too. Then I emailed the people who were interested and said, hey, it costs $129 to be part of this app, right? To be listed in like the first launch and release of this. And I'm going to be launching it to other people. And if you'd like to be part of it, let me know. And I'll give you a little like PayPal invoice and I'll get you as part of the app, right? So in just doing that, just by posting in Facebook groups, I had 27 people say yes, people who were like coaches and course creators. And so I made $3,500 before the app was even finished, right? The slide's a little bit old. I've already launched the app. And this is sort of what it looks like on the side. So you can log in. And actually, let me see if I can show you like an actual view of this here. Let me log out so you can see what this looks like. So you come into the app, you log in. I have it integrated with Gmail so people can log in with their Gmail or an email that they already have. It logs them in and it says, glad you're here. Next step is to find courses that you like. You can click browse courses. There's a listing of a bunch of different courses that you can check out. So if I click on a particular course, and click on it, I can see all the details for this course and I can see ratings and reviews for that course, right? All the details for the rating and review. I can leave my own rating and review, kind of like Yelp, right? I can add a review here and put my own review. I can also say I'm interested in the course and say that I want to receive discounts and information about the course. So I can do that here. I can also come over here and add my own course if I have a course or something like that, right? So there's all these different areas of the app, and I created this app and got 27 paying customers in 2 weeks. Right? This is a 2-week project. So just want to show like an example of how this could work for you, right? Let me show you some other examples. This is Brandiel. Brandiel is an entrepreneur that I've had the pleasure of coaching, and she knows a lot about nightclubs. Like she likes to like go out and dance. And she told me that sometimes it's hard to know, like when you like to go out to clubs and stuff, it's hard to know which ones are going to be lit and which ones are not, right? So she built an app to solve her own problem. So what she did was, in terms of marketing, she went on LinkedIn. And she typed in like club owners, nightclub owners, and she found a bunch of them and she messaged them. And she was like, hey, I'm creating an app. I want to feature nightclub owners on there. And what she does is she charges the club owners to have their club included in the app. Now, one of the things that she's able to do is be what I call like a hashtag coronavirus hero, because what she's able to do is that a lot of these clubs have had to shut down. Right. And just with everything going on, y'all know what's going on in the world. And so a lot of these clubs have to shut down. But I don't know if you guys have seen this, but like some people are having these like virtual dance parties and virtual events online. And so what she's doing is she's offering them an opportunity to have virtual dance parties and events on her platform, which is helping them save their business during this tough time, right? So she did all of this, came up with the app idea, built the app, got paying customers on board in 6 weeks, which is crazy. Right? This is Tracy's app. So Tracy knows a lot about Black women with multiple sclerosis, right? And she knows that there's a problem in that community where scientists are always trying to include those sorts of Black women in their research, but they're always like, we don't know how to find them. We don't know how to get those folks to be part of, to send us data and information. So she had this idea just based on something that she personally knew, right? She went on Facebook groups to find people who have MS. There's like different MS support communities. And she was like, hey, I'm putting together this app where you can get paid to be part of these studies. And people commented and were like, yeah, I'm interested. Then she went on LinkedIn and she searched up research facilities for MS and was able to get both of those parties on her app. So she charges the researchers to have their studies on her app. And then people are able to make money from doing this. And she finished all this in 6 weeks, right? 6 weeks. I'll show you another example. This is Marcus's app. So Marcus built an app to help people find farmers and farmers markets nearby, right? So he found a huge database online of farms, but like the database is like in a spreadsheet format. So like no one's gonna really go through that information like that. But he found the database and then he put that public information into his app. So there's like a map with pins on the map, almost like Uber style, of where all these different farmers markets are near you. And he lets the farms join for free. But if they want to sell products on the app, like they want to sell their produce, then he charges them, right? He finished all this in 4 weeks. So just showing you examples of like what's possible, right? None of these people had any special skills, any prior app building experience. They just took something that they already knew about and turned it into an app idea. So here's another example. This is Dawn's app. So Dawn really loves vision boarding, like helping people and herself to come up with vision of what they want next in their lives, right? And so she built an app to help people create digital vision boards, right? So her paying customers, she could charge individual people, but instead she asked herself, like, what kinds of people would like to have their own version of this app? And she realized that life coaches, it is their job to help people create their vision, right? And so she charges life coaches to have their own, what we call white label version of the app. So she takes her logo off of the app and puts the life coach's logo onto the app. She went on LinkedIn to find life coaches and she finished her app and all of her marketing, got paying customers in 8 weeks. Okay. Let me show you one more example, last one. This is Carolyn's app. So Carolyn is a lawyer. And what Carolyn was telling me is that sometimes she gets clients that come to her that ask her really specialized questions. Like sometimes she doesn't necessarily know the answer because she's not that type of lawyer. So she built an app to help lawyers ask other lawyers just quick questions, right? Hey, can you point me in the right direction for this? I'm not that special. I don't have that specialization, right? And so you find people and sort people based on what they specialize in. So she charges law firms money to give their employee lawyers access to the app, right? So they have, okay, here's this resource that you have so that you always look like you know what you're talking about because you can go and call a lifeline, call a friend. She went on LinkedIn to find law firms and she finished all of this in 5 weeks, like law firms on board, app created and ready to go. So I'm showing you all this. I'm going to stop sharing my screen in a second, but I'm showing you all this to show you what is possible. What is possible instead of spending $20,000 and taking a really long time to get going. Cool. Can you guys still see me? You guys can still see me? I stopped sharing my screen, but I think you can still see me. Good. Okay, cool. Any questions? I'm gonna pause for a second. Any questions? There's all sorts of other things I wanna show you, but I wanna pause for questions.
I'm actually going to jump in. I did see a few questions pop in. And those were lovely examples. I was getting ideas just watching the examples there. So there were a few questions. The first question is, Apple takes a significant amount of money as commission for using their App Store platform. Has that been a difficult financial hurdle for most folks?
So this is a great question. And this has been like a particularly big drama in the app world recently, where Apple has started to ask for more and more money from like, they want a percentage cut. They want like 30% now, which is crazy. So here's something important you should know. A lot of times when we think of apps, we think of the App Store. That's the first thing we think of. But that's only one type of app. There are actually multiple. There's really like 4 major types of apps. Let me walk you through them. And the reason, by the way, that I'm sharing this with you is because when I work with folks, I actually recommend that we launch one of the other types of apps first, so we don't even have to deal with Apple and all that. And then you can actually now just choose if you want to have your app in the App Store. So let me explain what I mean by that. Let's say that you open up your computer, because the first type of app is a web app. So you open up your computer and you type in facebook.com, right? You can still log in. It still remembers all of your information. It's still the same information, right? It's a web app. So that's the first type of app that you can create, one that's on the computer that people can access online. It's a web app. And there's no charge for creating that. There's nobody who's like, Apple's not charging you extra. None of that is happening. So the first type is a web app. The second type of app that you can build is called a mobile web app. So this is where, like, if you open up your phone and you go to Chrome or Safari or whatever you use to hunt the internet and you type in facebook.com, you'll notice, this happens, most of us don't even notice it, that it changes to m.facebook.com. And that M stands for mobile. So it's not the big wide screen that we see on our computer. It's nice and compact for a phone, but it's still a web app. We didn't get it from the App Store. It's a mobile web app. So that's the second kind. The first is a web app. The second is a mobile web app. Right? The third type of app that we can build that we most commonly think of is a native app, right? A native app. So this is the app that you download from the Apple or Android App Store, right? That's what we normally think of. Now, if you want to avoid extra costs, skip the third one altogether, because with a mobile web app, you can still have it as a tile at an app that people can click on their home screen, and you get to completely avoid the App Store, and it's way cheaper and way faster to build. So usually when I work with folks, we build a web app and a mobile web app first. And then later on, once you're making money and it's no big deal, you can decide if you want to be in the App Store. It used to be that you had to be in an App Store. Now that's actually not even the trend anymore. A lot of people are doing mobile web apps.
Thank you so much. Next question. And actually, can you just briefly name the 4 apps that you just went over?
Yes.
You have mobile, web.
I only said 3. There's one more. So there's web app, mobile web app, native app. That's the one you download from the App Store. And then there's like a desktop app, like that you may have on your computer, right? Like I'm looking at my computer right now. I have like FaceTime and I have iTunes. It's like downloaded onto my computer.
Okay, so like Zoom, and I think Slack does one.
Exactly. You could have a desktop app, but they also have web apps, right? In fact, they built their web apps first, is usually the trend.
I hope you guys are taking notes because I'm learning. So if I'm learning, I know you guys are getting some things from it too. The next question is, do you encourage charging for the app or offering a free app version first?
So I think it depends on what your goal is, right? And this is one of the things that we talk about like in the training program that I have. It's called Apps Without Code Bootcamp. So you can go 2 routes. If your primary goal is to make money with your app idea, I strongly encourage that you find a way to charge for it. And I'm going to talk to you about that in a second. But if you're just trying to create something that would be fun or that you think should exist in the world, then it's less important for you to charge for it up front, right? Now, that being said, a lot of times when we think of, oh, I'm going to build an app, we immediately think that the app's going to be free or 99 cents. Please do not make your app free or 99 cents. You need a lot of 99 cents to pay your bills. Like, you're welcome to do the math of how many 99 cents you need to collect to pay your bills. It's a lot. It's too many, right? It's too many for your business to be reliant on. I'm not saying you won't have millions of customers, but you want to make it so that you're making money from each of those. So there's a couple things you want to do to think through, wait a minute, like, how can I make real money with my app idea? So the first thing you want to think about is, who are the fast lane customers that you can target that have some disposable income, right? A lot of times I see that people will say like, okay, I'm going to market my app to a audience and a customer who doesn't have any money, right? You can't do that. You can't build a business in general around a customer who's not willing to pay or doesn't have money. So, but there are all kinds of workarounds. So let's say that you wanted to build an app to help homeless folks, right? And that particular community maybe can't give you a lot of money to use your app. We're not even going to go there. But there are all sorts of organizations and nonprofits who have whole budgets set aside to help that population. They've received grants for it. They've gotten all sorts of funding for it. And what you can do, for example, is if you want to serve that audience, you take your app to that organization or your nonprofit and you say, hey, you can white label my app. When I say white label, this is what I mean. You build the app, you take your logo off of the app, and you put the company or the nonprofit or the organization's logo onto the app. So they get to take credit for it and they think that's cool. And you're like, sure, you can take credit as long as I get my check. Right? Now, the cool thing about white labeling is that you can white label to an unlimited number of companies or organizations. Right? You can have like 50 different organizations that you white label to, or people or companies. And usually when you white label, you're charging, the price that you charge starts at $2,000 to $3,000 and up per customer. Why? Because the alternative is that they go spend $20,000 or $10,000 maybe to hire someone to custom build something for you. So you're giving them a great deal, but you're still bringing in $3,000 per customer. Now, I have some students that I work with, some entrepreneurs, that they charge $10,000. Like they bring their apps to hospitals or schools, right? And they're like, it's 10K. And the school's like, great, that's cheap. That's a great deal. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that sounds like a very easy way to make money once you have the blueprint, it's already set, and you're just white labeling it.
Yes.
I'm seeing so many positive remarks. I just want to recognize you guys for just being so blown away. And she is going to tell you how you can get more information toward the end of the session. Of course, we're always bringing you something so that you can continue the conversation in your training. I did have a good question that came in. I can't find it, but I'll get back to it. But on average, how long does it take to build the app?
Yeah, it depends on how complex it is. I'll give you a range though. It will range from 2 to 6 weeks when you're doing it with no code. If you're gonna learn how to code and code it yourself, we're talking maybe like 8 months to a year of development, right? So it considerably shortens the amount of time that you're going to use.
There it is. So thank you, Lakita, because I saw this question asked a few times. What's the best way you can get your idea out without someone taking your idea?
Yeah, good question. Okay, so there's 2 parts of this question that I want to break down. So the first one is like, how do you legally protect your idea? Right? So there are all sorts of things that you can do to legally protect your idea. The most important part of it, though, is when you do it. So a lot of times people will think like, okay, I have an idea. The first thing I need to do is like go talk to a lawyer and legally protect my idea. That is not the right timing to do it. Here's why. When you go sit down with like that lawyer and you have to like fill out the paperwork, you could do it yourself, but you have to fill out the paperwork of what your app idea includes. Right? If you're to protect it, you have to say what you're protecting. Right? The thing that you're protecting, how the idea looks and how it goes, could very easily change. And like this is very common that like you have an idea. I'll give you an example. My first idea for an app, the art app, I thought that people were going to love to open up the app and be able to immediately like video chat with an art advisor, kind of like a personal stylist for your walls, right? And to be able to be like, okay, well, I went to a museum one time and I saw this thing was kind of cool. Maybe I could get something like that to be able to talk to someone. But it turned out that like no one wanted to video chat with an art advisor because it's kind of intimidating, right? Talking to someone who's an expert and you're like, I don't really know that much about art, but like, I don't want to look stupid. Like no one wanted that. I'm so glad I did not build this whole video chat platform and go legally protect and do all the paperwork for that because it changed a little bit. right? We took that part out and left the rest of it. So you want to wait until you've got some customers going. I would say like until you made your first $3,000 or so before you do any of that paperwork. That being said, then the question is like, well, how do I even tell people about my idea? What do I do before that in the interim? So here's my personal view on this. Here's how I see ideas, right? Ideas are not things that like you're the only one who's ever had this idea. Ideas are like, I almost imagine them like a fairy that like comes and like lands on your shoulder and will stay there for a little while. And if it's not getting any attention, like you're not executing on that idea, it'll fly away and go to someone else, right? For some reason in tech, we think that there can only be one of an idea, but there's no other industry where we say this. Like imagine someone being like, I want to open up a hair salon, but there's already a hair salon in Atlanta, so I can't do that. Or like, I want to open up a bakery, but there's already a bakery in New York City, so I can't do that. Like it doesn't make any sense, right? We know that there's Coke and there's Pepsi. And if Pepsi had said that, then like there's already a Coke, can't launch, there's already a Coke, then like we wouldn't have both. There's Uber and there's Lyft, right? There's Airbnb and there's HomeAway. There's always multiple in every industry. So when I'm launching something, I'm not spending much time worrying about if someone heard about my idea, if they know my idea or not. What I'm focused on is aggressively moving forward and launching it and getting it out there. I'm actually trying to tell as many people as possible because that's how you get customers. And the reality is that the average person, they're going to have an idea and not do anything with it. So literally all you have to do to set yourself like 5 steps ahead is actually do something with it, right? A lot of you guys are sitting on ideas and it's like time to do something with it. Okay, other questions in the chat. What platform is being used to build the app? Ooh, good question. Okay, so there are a handful of different platforms that I personally like. Can I show you guys a couple? Can I show you a couple? Okay, let me share my screen. Give me 1 second. And I'll show you a couple. I also will explain to you just how you could even possibly build an app without code in the first place, like a little bit of the behind the scenes of how this works. Okay, let me share my screen. Let me know when you can see my screen full screen. Let me know in the chat. Can you see that? Yeah. Okay, so let me break down how this works. And then I will tell you, oh wait, 1 second. Let me make sure my computer is plugged in so I don't die. 1 second. Okay, I'm back. Okay, let me show you how this works, and then I'll show you tools, examples of tools you can use. So, code-free tools let you design apps by drag, drop, point, click. So kind of like you were making a PowerPoint presentation. You drag, drop, point, click, right? And then you logically tell the app what to do in English, not in some other coding language that you don't understand, but in English, which you already know. Right? So you design the app by drag, drop, point, click. My screen will show this in 1 second. You drag, drop, point, click. And then you logically tell the app what to do in English. So see how it's dragging onto the page. You put what you want on the page, put the button, and then you tell the app what to do. So a logic statement is the thing that tells the app what to do. A logic statement is the thing that tells the app what to do. Let me give you an example of a logic statement that you already understand. This is not hard, right? Let me give you an example. If I push the first domino, then the other dominoes will fall. If this, then that, right? This is a really simple sentence structure. No one's confused by this sentence. This is simple, right? Let me give you another example. If the user clicks the button, then log them in. If this, then that, right? So my tip for you is to find logic-based software for your app where you can just literally type in, if this, then that. But if this, then that, right? That's the part that replaces the code. So there are a ton of logic-based software tools that you can use to create your app. Let me show you a couple of them, but you don't have to use all of them. You just choose the right 1 or 2 that are right for what you're trying to build in your app, right? So the first tool that I want to show you, and there's actually two that are similar to this, is called AppSheet. And you can see the name of it in the bottom of my screen. AppSheet is the name of the tool. So AppSheet, and there's also another similar tool called Glide Apps. They're similar. They allow you to take a spreadsheet and instantly turn your spreadsheet into an app. So you can see images or put different grids of things. You can have a map, almost Uber style. You can have people type things in, sign for things, show charts and graphs, whatever it is that you want to do in part of your app, right? So you start with a spreadsheet and you instantly turn your spreadsheet into an app. These are usually AppSheet and Glide. Those are like the very common general app builders where you can build all kinds of things with it, right? Now, another tool that I really love for creating apps without writing any code is called Mighty Networks. So Mighty Networks allows you to create your own social network app without writing any code, right? So everybody gets their own profile. People can follow each other, like each other. There's a feed of everybody's posts, right? You can poll people. There's an events board and events that are coming up. So Mighty Networks allows you to create your own social network app. ShareTribe allows you to create your own marketplace app. And when I say marketplace, what I mean is like Airbnb style, right? Where people are buying and selling things from each other, right? Even like Amazon, where people are buying and selling things from each other, right? So like here's an example on the bottom screen. You can see people are like buying and selling and renting surfboards from each other, right? So you set your price and what day that you want to rent it for, and you book the date specifically. You could use this for all kinds of things, like people booking hair services from each other, beauty services from each other, or apartments from each other, whatever it is that you want to have, right? Or it could be donating to a particular nonprofit, right? You have a marketplace of things people can buy and sell and exchange money. So ShareTribe lets you create your own marketplace app. Thinkific is really cool. It lets you create your own education app. This will be a web app. And so people have lessons and videos and tutorials, and people can type in assignments, etc. I have a lot of folks that I work with who have ideas for education apps, and then they go and they white label that to a school, for example. Okay. CloudMatch is a really cool tool. It lets you create your own Tinder style matching app, right? So you can match people to people, or you can match people to things. It doesn't have to be dating. Let's say that you want to match like mentors to mentees, or you want to match people to tutors, or whatever that might be. It lets you create your own Tinder style matching app. You could also match people to recommendations for things, right? Resources. CloudMatch. And then Stencil allows you to create your own video games without writing any code. And again, it can be on iPhone, iPad, Android, Windows, or on the web. And there's no coding that you need to do. It's just if this, then that, right? Here's an example of a video game that was created by someone without writing any code, someone just like me and you who didn't know how to write code. So I always tell people, welcome to the future, because where we are right now, like there are tools out there to create whatever kind of app idea that you have now, because what we know today is that by 2025, most software won't be made by coders at all. But instead, it'll be made by people from diverse backgrounds like you and I using logic. Right? Because today, in order to build apps, you don't need to be a software developer or use any of these coding languages like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Perl, PHP, Python. Maybe you've heard of those before, right? Maybe you haven't. In fact, you don't even need to write a single line of code. Right? So welcome to the future. We're here. And there are tools that let you drag, drop, point, click, and then explain what you want the app to do in English. Yeah.
Thank you so much. All of those were gems right there. So if anything, you would definitely, when you're watching this replay, want to jump in at that 25, 30-minute mark to get all of those. And we'll also do a recap and share that inside of the lesson, the links to those apps that she had also mentioned. But there are a lot of questions around cost, which I assume will vary depending on the platform.
Yeah.
Can you dig into that a little bit?
Yes. So I'll give you a range of what to expect. So all of the tools will allow you to start for free. So you can build the app and get it completed for free. But then when you're ready to publish it to customers and have customers start to use it, that's when you usually are going to want to pay, because you want to take their logo and branding off of there and just have it be your app, right? So the cost varies and ranges from $29 a month to about $99 a month, depending on which tool you chose, right? Still way less than $20,000 it would cost to have someone build an app for you. So we'll take the monthly fee instead, right? Between 29 and 99.
Absolutely. I know I would, because I mean 20, and that's like almost minimum from
Yeah,
I've heard anywhere from 20 to 60 to 120,
right.
depending on like what's out there. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I want all of you to just take a moment real quick to appreciate this greatness. Just have like a moment of woosah, because she just took the stress and the chaos of building an app and made it seem super simple, and just knowing that you can do that without all of those, I don't know what language you were speaking with all those codes, CSS and Java and all of that. She's telling you that there is a way to do this in a very simple way. So I just want to say congratulations to whoever has an idea, because in 6 weeks you can have an app of your own. There was a good question about an app, and I think it was around service. And I think that was Victoria. If you can elaborate a little bit on that, when you say, what if you have an app that is focused on service? I think the question we want to know, or Tara would need to know, is what do you want the app to do?
Yeah, that's right. Because like there are a lot of folks that I help that have a service business, but they want an app for it. For example, like I'll give you an example. I'm working with a cleaning company right now, and it's 2 folks who run their own cleaning company, and they have different housekeepers that go out and do both like residential and commercial cleaning. So it's a service business, right? However, they need to be able to track like where each of their cleaners have already been, how far along they are in the job. They want their clients to be able to see, sort of like, you know how in Uber where you can see like the car is on its way and now it's arrived, like that sort of thing. You can see like the progress of it. They wanted people to be able to sign off on the work being done, take photos of the work being done. So they wanted to create an app for their service business. So you can absolutely do that where you create some technology on top of it. But what we should, I think, all remember is that today, like in the year that we're in right now, every single company is a tech company. Like you have to be. Like we've seen how the market has changed and how things are changing, how much we're relying on technology and apps now. Like every company has to have some element of technology to it.
Absolutely. So yeah, what we're delivering to you all tonight is access. I mean, before this session, you thought that things had to be one way, and she's telling you, hey, there's a world of opportunity here in this app place, and you guys have the opportunity to really dig into that. And I know there were some really detailed questions, and I want you to know that there is you know what, Tara, I'll let you explain. You have a free offer for them for the webinar to go more in detail, right?
Yes. So I'm going to be doing a second part of this workshop because we have limited time here. So if you want me to go deeper on different scenarios where you could use this, or like the different tools that I showed you, like how do you know which one to use in which scenario? Or for those of you who don't quite have your app idea yet, we're going to start the next workshop with how do you come up with an app idea. I'll give you some quick ideas now, but how do you come up with an app idea that you can really use this framework for? So I'm going to be doing a follow-up workshop, and we'll be able to post a link into the chat for folks.
Yep, it's in there now. So if you guys
already have
under Literature Academy, it's right there, and it's also underneath this video.
Yes. So this coming up week, I'm going to be doing a workshop. So you can go click on that link and find a time that works for you. I would encourage you to do that now. Just go get signed up because we'll do a second part of this where I can go deeper and answer more questions and we'll go into details. Yeah. As you're doing that, I want to talk about how to come up with an app idea just briefly, right? The easiest way to come up with an app idea is this. The first thing you do is you ask yourself, what do I do for work, right? And that could be like what you previously have done for work or what you currently do for work. Like, what do I do for work, right? Some of you guys are teachers. Some of you guys work in healthcare. Like, what it is that you do, right? And then the second thing you ask yourself is, what is one thing that is hard or time consuming about that job? So I would love to hear some ideas from you guys. You can just like type in the chat, like what's one thing that is hard or time consuming about your job? It's like the part that like everybody is like, oh, I hate this part, right? They're just like, it's annoying. I think that's hard or time consuming about your job. It could be something hard or time consuming for you or for your boss, or like something your boss is complaining about, right? Those are the great places to look. And it can be based on prior experience or current experience. And if you're in between jobs, like you might even say like, one of the things that's hard or time consuming is finding the right jobs to apply to. or getting in contact with the hiring manager so that you can kind of like do some relationship building and schmoozing so you're not just like a resume in the pile, right? Those are things that are hard and time consuming. Right. So once you figure out the things that are hard and time consuming, then you do some brainstorming on how you could turn that and how you could solve that pain point in an app. For example, let's say that you are a teacher, and one of the things that is hard or time consuming is keeping track of where each student is in terms of like how advanced or how much help that they need on different subjects, right? It's just like something that you're spending a lot of time on. So you can create an app that allows you to have all of your students listed and be able to track in like where they are in the process and see over time how they're progressing. And then maybe even have their parents be able to see how they're progressing too, right? So they don't have to wait for the report card. There's some interaction. And maybe we can take that to a school and see if the school is interested in having that for their customers, right? So you could do this with any idea, right? Anything that you do for work. If you're finding yourself at a loss for an app idea, I know some of you guys already have ideas, but if you're at a loss, that's one formula you can really do. What do I do for work? What's one thing that's hard or time consuming about my job? And if I turn that into an app, like how could it work?
Look at all these ideas. I don't know if you can see them coming in, but I'm like, I don't know. I see a bunch of apps just about to be just processed. Yes. Welcome to the future, like she said, because these all seem like issues and challenges that many people have. I'm sitting here, I'm cringing at some of them. Someone's Liz said, grading papers. Woo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm pretty sure people can use some help with that. So you guys already have like the basics of it all. Just sitting in right inside of you. You just needed the tools and resources to get there.
Yeah.
So I'm not seeing any more questions, but we are still here. We have 12 minutes. So if you guys have any additional questions, please let us know. And as soon as I said, here's Ray.
Yeah. I saw a question earlier. There's a pretty common question that folks will ask me, which is like, when you build your app on one of these platforms that I showed you, like, do they get ownership of your idea? How does that work? So I just want to explain that and clear that up. So it works like this. Imagine that you're an author, like you write books for a living, and you use Microsoft Word to write your book, right? Microsoft does not own your book. You just use their tool to write your book. They don't own any rights to your book. So it works the same way. They don't own your idea or your business or your company or anything like that. You just use their tool to build it.
So I hope that gives you guys a little peace of mind. So for instance, we're Live Richer Academy. We have all of our information on the platform Thinkific, which she shared. Yep. And we have tons of information here. No one's going off stealing all of our information.
Right.
So you can definitely, kind of inhale, exhale over that. You will be well taken care of. And then also within these apps, they want you to succeed because as you are making money, they are making money. So the question was, what kind of support is there with these different, no code apps?
Yeah. So all of them have like a customer support team where you can ask and answer questions. I'll be completely honest with you though, they have like varying degrees of how good their customers, just like any company, like some companies have really good customer support and other companies don't. I would say that for some of these companies, they are full of engineers who think like engineers. And sometimes we need to like hear the information in a slightly different way because we're not computer science engineers, right? So like it helps to have someone maybe explain it to you in a way that is in English, not in like technology speak. And so some of the companies are better or worse at doing that, which is why like folks usually will like to do more training programs that I have or stuff like that, because we'll like break it down in English as opposed to in like a coding language.
So that was like crystal clear. And I think what's great about what you mentioned is people, once they master it as a regular person, not the engineer, they learn about the platform and they learn themselves. And then they also end up offering that as a service. So there might be people who specialize in offering coaching or consulting or whatever for that app that you're using.
Exactly.
Now, you guys, I know I asked for questions, but boy, y'all dropped them. So give me a minute.
All the questions.
My eyes are trying to catch up with the screen, so you guys probably see me with this lost face right now. So I'm just gonna pull one because we won't get to all of them, but I'm going to ask the questions that might apply to most people.
And we'll do a part two.
Yes, and then we'll work our way through it. How do you market the app so people know it is available?
Yeah, good question. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit more about this in the follow-up class that we're going to do, but there's two ways I personally really love, and I actually showed you a little bit of this earlier. So the first way is to go on Facebook groups. So go find Facebook groups that have your target audience. If you are going after single moms, there are Facebook groups for single moms. Those are your target audience. If your target audience are nurses, you can go find Facebook groups with nurses, right? So that's the first way that it's like super easy and it costs nothing to do. You go in there, you could post straight up a link to your app, but that's actually usually not the best way to do it. The best way is to usually like ask a question, right? To like stir up some conversation and to do it that way, right? So let me actually show you something really quickly. This is let me see if it'll load here, a copy of a workbook that I use with all of the entrepreneurs that are in my coaching program. And so let me just show this to you so you can see what it looks like. So like, see how there's all these tabs down here? So each of these tabs tells you like what to do in a different part of the journey. So if you scroll forward, there are a bunch of 3 marketing tabs. And one of them, let's see which one it is. I believe it is this one. My computer is loading slow here. This one is marketing tactic number 3, post in relevant Facebook groups twice. And so when you'll go in and you'll fill in the yellow section and I'll write a script for you. It automatically generates a script for you of like what to say in the Facebook group. Right. So there's all sorts of things that you can do. And if you're interested in like getting more help with this, I have a training program that you can check out. I would say the first next step would be to like go to the next follow-up workshop. But then we can talk about that if you're interested in more help. But that's one way to do it. The other way that I love for marketing is going on LinkedIn and searching for the job title of someone who might be your customer. And then you get like hundreds of thousands of potential customers right there.
I love how you just casually drop like golden nuggets. She's just like, yeah, just do this. And then, oh my gosh. I mean, and that applies to so many things, which she just shared about the Facebook groups and LinkedIn. So again, I hope you have a pen and notepad. Let me see. There was a question that just dropped in. Can you build an app that uses government agencies or any kind of resources like testing agencies, licensing departments?
Yeah. So you mean that you use their service? Is that what the question was?
I'm believing she's talking about either using their service or featuring their service.
Yeah, absolutely you can. Yeah. So you could have like a list of government agency services. You could even like edit the list for each person based on what they're looking for, right? So it'll only show the services that they actually need. So you could totally do that. I'm not sure if this was your question as well. Like you could also go to a government agency as a customer and say like, hey, y'all need, usually government agencies have like terrible technology, right? So you go to them and you say, hey, I'll give you an app for this. It'll have your own government agency branding on this. And this will help you guys help other people find your resources, if that makes sense, right? Like people are looking for the resources. They don't have an app. You can create the app and license it to them. That's a big check for you.
Absolutely. I had a good question that dropped in at some point. It was saying if you, I guess, mastered one of the apps that you shared and wanted to offer it as a service for creating apps for organizations, like, I don't know, say it's a government agency, what would be the starting rate of building an app for another company?
Yeah. Do not go any lower than like $5,000 to $7,000. If it's for a company, like depending on the size of the company, like 5 to 10 would be like
they have it in the budget.
They have it completely, and they would think that was like a great deal. You could go higher, you could go up to 100, right? Depending on who it is and what the company is, right? For one app.
Awesome. All right. So some of these questions are very specific, and I know there is a second workshop, so I don't want to pull from that. So the link to the free workshop that I believe you said is happening this weekend, this upcoming weekend?
This week.
This week,
Yeah.
is inside of the chat, and it's also beneath the video inside of Literature Academy. So if you're watching in there now, you'll see the link to that, that workshop. Let's see. Lori has a good question. What if you just want to tap into the tech world as a ministry and want to use a tool app to let people know where we are and what we're about? So it's an informational app.
You could totally do that. Absolutely. Right. And then like use it to establish yourself as a leader in the tech world. Right. Like you have an app that sure shows the landscape. It has information inside. You can absolutely do. Yeah.
And one last question from Destiny. It says how to protect against confidentiality. So I guess if, I'll let you take it away. I always dig a little deeper.
Yeah. So there's a couple things you can do. Like if you have people who you want to be business partners with you or you want to work with, you can have them sign what's called an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, right? So that they're agreeing not to share any of your ideas and you guys get that buttoned up at the beginning of the conversation, right? There's also some intellectual property protection that you can do where you protect I'm going to say this two ways just to be clear. You protect the idea that you have, right? Now, this is something I actually didn't know until I talked to my lawyer a few years ago. I thought that when you do an intellectual property protection of your idea, I thought that what you were doing was protecting the idea itself. But actually, when you go and you protect your IP, your intellectual property, your idea, when you go in to protect it, you have to actually show something that has been built with the idea. You can't actually legally just protect an idea. They're going to say, please submit the like link to what you made and the code for what you made if there's code, or like the logic for what you made if you're building it without code. So you have to actually have something in order to legally protect your IP. So you can do the NDA piece when you're working with people so they don't share your idea, but you want to then build something, be making some money from it, and then you can do some further protecting of your IP and your idea.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm seeing again, they're just like, this is the best LRA session I've ever attended. They're just
love it. We're just nerding out here, but it's fun.
Look, we love a nerd session. We'll take it any day. I just can't wait to see your testimonials because they do an amazing job at just sharing the progress they've made after watching a session. And I know if they are rocking with you, Tara, y'all, in 6 weeks, by the end of the year also, I mean, we're gonna have apps left and right. So I am super excited to hear about all of your sessions. They were asking if you provide one-on-one consulting, if you provide tech support, where can you tell us a little bit more about that? And then also tell us where we can find you.
Yes. Okay. So I absolutely do. I have a program called Apps Without Code Bootcamp that I do that like walks you through this process in detail. If you're interested in that, definitely come to the the second workshop we're going to do so that you can I'll have time to actually break down what's included in that program so that you know and have all those details. So we'll talk about that this coming up week. And then also you can find me on social as well. My handle on Instagram, Twitter, all the above is at Tara Reed _ REED. So at Tara Reed _ REED. TARAREED.
Awesome. So there you go, guys. Find her on the web, all social platforms at Tara Reed _ Yes. Again, all of this information is under this lesson in the Academy. You can just refresh your page, or if you're just there watching, it's right beneath that. So please follow Tara. Please sign up for the workshop. That link is also in there. I'm seeing a couple of people saying they've already signed up. So if you're in there, let us know. And for those of you who were having tech issues, like connection issues earlier in the session, as soon as we end this session will be available to watch the replay. So you can use the same link that you use to join us through the email or through the text message that you receive, and you'll be able to watch this replay this evening. So thank you all again for spending your Sunday with us. Tara, any last remarks, any other gems you have for us before we close out?
I think that's it. I think like for those of you who want to take this to the next level, or at least like continue investigating it, we'll talk about that next week. And there'll be 2 options after that. After next week, if you want to do more and you want to work with me, we can work together on your idea. There's also an option if you'd like for me and my team to build your idea for you, and then like you own the whole thing. We also have that option too.
Awesome. Thank you again, Tara. Oh my gosh, you're like a goddess. We love you, and hopefully we can have you back again in the academy. But otherwise, you have a couple of dream builders joining you this week for that
Amazing
workshop. So thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Perfect.
And all of you, have a good evening.